share it.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, it's on.
Hello.
It still says this on my thing.
Yeah, there's like a
there's a delay on your phone. Hello, everybody. I am Zoe Sol. You are watching Let's Get Witchy. And this is part 2 of a 2-part series on Otherkin. And in case you haven't noticed, I'm just going to get this out of the way right now. Mr. Logan South is...
I'm in the middle of a transition. But I'm glad to be back.
Logan is busy with work stuff
Becoming
today, so
Asian.
we have another Aquarius.
another very Aquarius.
That is here.
He's my husband. So, you want to introduce yourself?
Okay, fine. No, not Logan. I'm sorry.
Nope.
I started this relationship with lies. Hi, I'm Zeph. I'm Zeph Rex, and I'm her husband, like she said. And I am not Logan.
He is not Logan, no. So everybody, just so you know, we did this series a couple weeks back. This is all about Otherkin, and I'm going to talk with you a little bit about what an Otherkin is, just as a recap for those of you that are just joining in. And then we're going to go into a conversation, introduce all these lovely folks here, because everybody here on our stage identifies as something other than human. And
Or
that
human.
is actually...
No, something
no.
other than.
So we're going to talk a little bit about that, and then we're going to go into your questions and just basically sit here, have a conversation with you all. So think about any questions that you might have. In fact, I am going to need to see the chat. How do I get back to the chats?
Where the red?
That?
Yeah.
There we go. Oh, hello, Kate. Oh, hello, my dear Candy and Bianca. It's good to see you guys, you ladies. Thank you so much for joining in. So let's just start in with, like, what the heck is an Otherkin? For those of you that don't know, Otherkin are, we are basically people that identify as something other than human. So that can look like a variety of things. There are actually Otherkin that identify as animals. There are interspecies people that identify as partially human and then partially some other being. There are people that identify as vampires, fae, many different things. We're going to kind of all go through that down the line and talk about how we identify. And please understand that, you know, the thing about this is that it's not that, like, I identify as fae. It's not that I necessarily think, like, oh, I have these giant wings, right? Like, I know that physically I don't. It's more about the essence and the soul of who you are, and we've incarnated in this human form, but we know that our soul is of another place. So we are going to dive into that because I know that this can be confusing for people. Hello, Jill. I'm so glad that you're here and joining in. So please, if you have questions, please ask. We're here to answer all of those questions. So without further ado, let's start over here to my dear friend Jeffrey. And Jeffrey, why don't you introduce yourself to all the good people and let them know how you identify?
Yeah. So hello, hi everybody. So my name is Jeffrey Lord. In this weird physical form of mine, I identify as an unsilly fairy, full on mischievous, just courageous, and all around weird. I'm also a druid, and yeah, that's who I am. That's what I am, and
It's also too gay to function.
I am
Too
very gay to function. So yes, that.
Now I can make Mean Girls references.
I know. I think you guys are just
She had never seen Hen Girls, and I fixed that.
Yes.
So now we
I'm
can.
really glad that was
Oh.
fixed. That's just.
Oh my gosh! But yes, I am gay. You can ask my boyfriend. There we go. Hi, Zach. And
Your turn.
My turn. Hi, my name is Kara Tesno, and I identify as an alien fae, which basically means that while I do feel very connected to this planet, I feel very strongly connected to somewhere else beyond this Earth, and just like there's elementals that we call the fae here on this planet, there are elementals on other planets and other dimensions, and I think that I am one of those elementals from a different planet. Awesome.
Very nice.
Really quickly, before we continue, I just want to shout out to Jennifer Rogers. You are a newbie here. Welcome. You are watching Let's Get Witchy, and right now we are all Otherkin. We are talking about how we identify, just really quickly, Otherkin are people that identify as something other than human. It's also been, there's been the term thrown around of like soul dysmorphia, but I really hate that term. It's basically understanding that, it's people that can feel that even though we are incarnated in human form, we are, our soul and our essence is of another, is something else. So we're kind of identifying how we identify so you all can get to know us a little better. Hello, Lakin. I am so glad to see you back. And yes, my dear Daly, why don't you tell us?
I was just enjoying you holding my hand. I'm fine here. Hi, my name's Daly South, and I identify as a vampire fae, or vamp fae for short, just to make it sound cuter and less weird. I awakened as a vampire at 15, and I had my original fae awakening when I was a child, and then reawakened a few years back. So.
And we should actually talk about that,
Yeah.
like what an awakening is. And we'll talk about that with you guys after we identify ourselves. So everybody, hello, my name is Yoramus.
And I identify as a coyote.
I may look like a chihuahua, but I'm a beast. Okay, so that's Yodi. It just happened. I know, I'm dark. Hi everybody, I am Zoe Soul, and I identify as an unseelie fae. Specifically, I identify as a water fae.
Oh, Earth Fae, I guess. Yeah, so yeah. Unseelie. Two unseelies in the house.
Oh yeah, we should have said
Yeah, we're
Sealy.
Sealies, yeah. Two Sealies, two unseelies, and my darling.
Hi, I'm Zephyr Rex, and I identify as a very convincing human.
A very
And there's
you're not
no
convincing
cause for alarm.
you are not a convincing human. I'm sorry. You and Jeffrey are neither convincing.
Sorry. Yes, I'm also an alien. I'm also an undefined fae. I'm still searching for that part of my soul.
Zephyr's an alien too.
Yeah,
He did
I
the
am an alien for sure.
Yeah.
But Zoe has a really awesome, what is that, fairy glossary?
Yeah.
On her
very
website?
glossary.
There are so many different types of fairy, and there were a few that piqued my interest, but I'm still trying to identify the very silhouette of the specific fairy that I am.
Yeah, I love that. And that actually kind of segues into what Jennifer is saying, that Jennifer, you're mentioning that you're in an awakening right now and you're feeling lost. That's very common. And I feel like that's a really great opportunity to segue into what is an awakening. Daly, I feel like because you probably have been awakened, so to speak, longer than anybody here, you could probably talk on that topic.
Well, I feel like, you know, a lot of people are born awakened, and so it's more for them, it can be kind of just like a realization as they age. But for vampires specifically, a lot of times we awaken around puberty, and it is a hit in the face, like hard, like 1 minute you can handle the sunlight, the next you're vomiting in a corner and have to feed from human energy, and it feels a lot of times like it comes out of nowhere. So it's different for each person based on what you're awakening to. Like there's also spiritual awakenings that just, you know, humans will have. Someone who doesn't identify as Otherkin. You can have a spiritual awakening and you can go through similar things. You don't have to be an Otherkin to have a spiritual awakening. And for a lot of people, it can be maddening. Like it can be something that makes you feel like you're going crazy. And if you don't have the right type of, if you don't know where to go or where to look or where to, you know, someone that can kind of walk you through it, a lot of people do end up experiencing a lot of mental illness issues from their spiritual awakening. So, but for me, I've awakened twice, and probably a few times in there, little ones in there where I awakened further. But two main awakenings, and both of them were extremely jarring. People paint awakening as this beautiful, I'm meditating in the bathtub and it's so beautiful. But actually it's sitting on the floor of your bathroom in a ball crying. And yeah, it's yeah. It can be really over here. And you're like, everyone with headphones just died.
Right. It's fine.
That's my ringtone.
Yeah. Hello, Lilia Moore. Welcome. I see if you guys are just tuning in, don't be afraid to say hi. We want to know who's here, and we'd love to shout out to you. Jennifer Rogers, you are saying, what, girl? This shit is scary.
It is.
So it's interesting because, like, just really quickly to define what an awakening is, and you know, if you guys have other opinions on this, please chime in. But the way that I look at an awakening is it's basically an aspect of yourself, or maybe even like the truer essence of who you really are underneath the sort of superficial shield of what you've created, right? So like we all have these masks that we put on to function in the world and in reality. And I sort of believe that, like, as a child, that mask is not there, right? Like, we kind of just are who we are. But then as we move through this lifetime, it's like we start to learn to wear these masks to be safe in the world and to be able to function in human society. But then there's a point where, for those of us that are otherkin, but also, as you mentioned, I'm so glad you mentioned this, for those of us that are spiritual and that are seeking, there is a point where the masks have to fall and our spirit and our soul starts to emerge, and it's sort of like all of that starts to crumble and break away to reveal the truth of who we are. And that's how I identify an awakening. And it can be scary because, you know, like Daly said, it's not all flowers and sunshine. Like, a lot of times it's like, you know, all of the stuff around you is tumbling down. Everything you thought you were, your identity, all of that.
Everything you were taught,
everything you were
by your
taught,
parents and society and religion is all crashing down around you.
Bye.
And you find yourself in a cave and you turn on the light only to realize that there's 1,000 other light switches that you have to now go to and turn on.
Yes, that's a really good analogy.
That is from Michelle
Thank you.
Bellanger's Vampires in Their Own Words book. Check it out.
Oh, I love her. She's wonderful.
Yes.
Desiree is assuring us that the headphone user is still surviving. Awesome.
Yeah.
But you got an hour of this, girl, so we will see. Jennifer says, yes, digging in there sucks, but rewarding. I feel like I'm seeing things for the first time at 43.
Yep.
Oh,
That's
so
awesome.
glad for you.
Nice.
And you know, I feel like you can, at any age, you can awaken.
Yes.
I have a friend. I've been friends with them since about 2012, 2013. And Jacob, he is 63 years old, and he didn't awaken until he was 61.
Wow.
Yep.
That's amazing.
Found out he is a full Sealy Fae, and he is just like, it all makes sense now.
Very cool.
So yeah, no. So at any age, you guys can really awaken and really just embrace it. Just go with the flow and see where it takes you. So.
Yeah. Kara, can you talk a little bit about your process? Because I know that you're kind of even in it right now.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I don't know how to fully vocalize or conceptualize what exactly I'm feeling inside of my body. Which is, you know, when I talk about the fact that, Daly talks about the fact that awakening is not necessarily this like love and light, flowers and rainbows process. It's not. Like, it is very much been me sitting by myself telling myself that I'm not crazy all the time. But obviously, like, meeting people constantly, like all of you, where it's like, no, like, you're not alone in this process.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many of us going through the same thing, and like, what are you gonna do? Throw us all in the loony bin? Like, no, there's so many of us.
So I hear it's quiet and you get meals here.
You get free food and everything.
Oh,
They
wow.
take care of you.
So nice. So yeah,
Personal assistant.
personal assistant.
That's my house, not same thing.
Good old lemon pepper.
So good. So yeah, it's, to be perfectly honest, like I still am very much trying to wrap my head around this concept of alien fae. Like, this is so new to me, and yet there's this, when these words started to coming into my field, I was like, that makes more sense than anything else has made sense. You know, I don't even question it when it happens. That's the thing. Like, these words come into my mind, and I'm just like, oh, okay, cool.
Mhm.
I personally on my path, when these like alien, fairy, whatever words come into my field, I'm never surprised by them. I'm never taken off guard, or even like, while I know that I hide them from certain people in my life, like they're not being hidden from myself at all, and I'm not denying them. So it's very exciting. I like, as much as like it's painful and it is a very expansive process, because it literally feels like the insides of you are being pushed outward, and your being keeps being expanded, and it is uncomfortable.
It's a lot to fit in these little
It's a
suits.
lot. It's a lot to fit, and oftentimes it seems like it's not enough, but it is. So yeah, I'm mostly just glad to know that I'm around people that it doesn't matter how much we keep expanding, we just get to keep expanding and
Keep going.
be supported by that.
Yeah.
So just, you might be afraid sometimes, and that's okay, but just understand that you're not alone in this process at all. There's a lot of us who feel this way.
Yes, there are.
Mm.
Yes, there are.
And
I mean, and on that note, I think that, so for me, it's funny because I feel like I've also had kind of many little awakenings throughout my life. But I think the thing that was really helpful for me, I'm a huge advocate of therapy and really taking care of your mental health. I know that that's been really helpful for me, but there were times where like that didn't feed what I needed. And so I turned towards shamanism, and I turned towards witchcraft, and I turned towards healers that had one foot in the spiritual world and one foot in the psychotherapy world, so that they could really bring the two together to make sense. Because the reality is we are in this physical plane, we are in this physical incarnation, and sometimes it can be really hard, because it's like, I remember for me, one of my biggest fears when I was young was that I was going crazy. And then, again, it happened in college where I thought I was going crazy. And even very recently, some stuff happened where I'm like, oh my God, am I crazy? Like what is, so there are those moments where it's like, I can see the other realm, and I am of the other realm, and I feel the other realm. And I can go to the other realm, but I am in this realm. And so there can be like a split in consciousness that happens if you're not supported and really grounded. And that is speaking to like what you were talking about with people actually developing mental illnesses. So there is something to say for really getting the support you need, and also seeking out spiritual healers. Vet them, because there's also a lot of them that like, like you need to vet them and like, see who they've worked with, but you're not alone, and you don't have to do this alone. So yes, that's what I have to say about that.
Makes total sense. Yep.
Jeffrey, what about your experience? I mean, you identify as Unseelie Fae, and so at what point did you realize that was a part of your identity? Are you like, did you have an awakening? What was that like? Can you share with them?
Well, it was like kind of referring to the last episode that we were in together. I talked about how the druids had the high seat Dragonwild, and then I was asked, am I Fae? And then the high priestess just looked at me, and it was not her. It was like other beings. Like I saw in her eyes, and it was just, and I heard in the voice, there was multiple voices, and they said, honey, you've always been Fae.
Yeah.
You've just tried, it's just gonna take a while for you to find yourself in this realm and this presence. And it did. It took me a little bit, and that was back in 2012. And ever since then, I've been really embarking more and more and more, because I've always resonated with the Fae. And I've realized, there's like, everyone's like, oh, Seelie's good, Unseelie's bad. And it's not necessarily like that. It's just that's Hollywood people. Okay, I just want to tell you all that right now. I see it, Unseelie are like, they see the more darker side of things, but in the more beauty of sense. Like, when it's fall and there's winter, and everything starts to die and such like that. I see the beauty in death and such. And that I've been through so much, and I've just really resonated a lot, like the mischievous little personality traits I have. I mean, you guys know, but it's kind of hard to explain. It's taken me some time. I felt very comfortable with myself, probably actually pretty recent. 2015, 2016 is really, I really realized I'm like, oh, I am unseelie. I am more to the darker side of things. I understand and resonate with people's emotions, and I understand where people are coming from and how things are seen. So yeah, it's 2021, so it's only been about 5 or 6 years I've really accepted myself for who I truly am. And it's always fun. And, it's like I go around the Renaissance Fair when I'm acting and such, and people are like, you are so mischievous. And I was like, and then when people meet me outside, they're like, you are so mischievous. I do a lot of reverse pickpocketing. You can ask Daly. She just found a rock in her
I was trying to figure out why my
purse.
purse was so heavy. I'm like, it's just all my normal. There's a giant crystal in here.
It's fun. But
carrier.
yeah, so I would say about 5 or 6 years is like when I really started to accept myself for who I am. And I've just really done a lot of meditation. I've done a lot of research. I've asked Otherkin, questions and answers and exchanged information and just learned from there. So it's not an easy process at all, but I would definitely say I feel very close to Faye my whole life. I just didn't realize that until I was much older, until about my 20s. So
Yeah.
I'm 33 now, so I mean, look where I am at. So yeah.
You are full Faye. Ain't
No,
nobody
me,
more
Faye?
Faye than you.
Not at all. Ooh, shiny.
So yes, so I actually want to go to you next, but before I do, I want to have a look at some of these comments here and just pop up here. Oh, Bianca loves your Beetlejuice cats. Yes, I do too.
Look at the contrast of Zeph and I.
Yeah, they actually, Zeph was like,
coordination.
It was a coordination.
It's my covenant
You're like,
brother.
yes,
I love
do it. Louis says, I'm a person who considers himself highly gifted. I'm really looking to dive into the metaphysical spiritual practices.
Nice.
I'm very interested in vampirism, clair astrology, mysticism, paranormal.
Ooh.
Awesome.
So he hears things. That's clairvoyance?
Claire, so I assuming you're talking
Oh, wait,
about clairaudience,
clairvoyant.
where you
I don't know.
hear.
It could be clairvoyant.
Both clair, and yeah, both, all of them. But yeah, no, that's great. Jennifer says, my daughter passed last year and I've been on a mission. I'm so sorry, Jennifer.
Trauma can oftentimes start like. trigger awakening.
Real quick, sorry, I don't mean to get into this, but Jennifer, she's with you.
Oh wow.
She's there for you right now, and she's very happy where you are at.
Maybe we could pull a card.
Yeah, we can pull cards.
Sorry, I just
Yeah.
I do a craft. It's called Fairyman Work, and it just piqued me. Very happy. She's very happy, and she's safe, and she's there with you.
Ooh.
There you go, Jennifer.
Sorry.
No, don't apologize for that.
Wow.
All right.
Okay.
Keep going.
Let's keep going.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
That's the other question in that one. Hold on.
Druid, I like that path. Old Irish tradition, I feel really good.
Hey, yeah.
I had a dream where there were dark shadows flying all around me and I couldn't move and I was yelling evil over and over. Then I started praying and
Ooh.
woke up. Any ideas? So, yeah, Jennifer, when I was really connecting with Fae spirits, I had a similar dream to that actually, where there was dark energy all around me, and I had to actually emanate from my heart space, sort of like, do you remember Care? I don't know how old you are, but like, yeah, I think you said 40. Okay, yeah, you should remember. Yeah, you should remember Care Bears. But remember they would do like the Care Bear stare, and they'd all get together and like beam light from their chest. Well, that was my dream. But I had all these Fae beings join me, and we were beaming light and pushing out the darkness. And so my suggestion would be maybe to call upon your guides. And here's the thing, I get a lot of questions about guide work because I'm always talking about guides. You do not have to know who your guides are to call upon them. Your guides are spiritual beings that are around you all the time. They come into this life with you to help guide you through this life on the spiritual plane. And so if you don't know who they are, that's fine. You can still call on them and they will show up and you can begin to develop a relationship. But I know for me, when I started having kind of those darker dreams, what that did for me was fostered a connection between me and my guides. So I would recommend or suggest
calling in your guides and learning who they are. Maybe you know who they are, but maybe it's time to like really team up and work with them so that you can learn your own spiritual gifts, because that's one thing guides are really good at, is showing and uncovering your gifts and helping you foster them. Candy says, it's very relatable, Zoe. As a 48-year-old person, I've had multiple awakenings as vamp, fae, alien, shapeshifter. Oh, actually,
Alien.
I looked at
Alien, I love that. That is so cute.
I did not know you were 48. I thought you were like in your like.
The alien.
Actually, same. I didn't like that was that old either. But I also feel like Otherkin always look younger than they are.
Yeah.
How old are you, Zach?
800.
Yeah.
What do I look?
Like maybe 30.
Oh yeah.
You didn't.
Shave off 770 years.
I had a candle blow up one night while I channeled for the first time, and I wasn't expecting to do that either. Wow.
Wow.
Please don't say sorry.
Yeah,
No,
never
no,
sorry.
no,
Never
no,
sorry.
Never say you're sorry, girl.
And also,
You're
just
here.
candles exploding just means that the energy was very high, and the intention needs to be reassessed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's okay that happened. Just FYI.
Becoming a Shrek. So I'm just reading this. Thanks.
Kate is saying, I think she really has to stage her home or Palo Santo at 2 Zoe. Thank you, Kate, for bringing that up. Jennifer, yes. So she's talking about clearing your home, and that is actually a really good idea.
That's good. Just do kind of regularly.
There you go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Monthly.
Always.
It's good.
And make sure
I was
windows
gonna
are
mention
open.
like
Yeah, open
your
windows.
new-
Yeah,
I think
bounce
that's-
around.
Oh, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. But that's for a very specific type of thing.
yeah.
There you
That's
go.
not.
Evil. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah,
Evil.
that's true. Yeah. Well, if you want to talk about it, you can. Or you can talk about it.
Oh yeah. So aside from sage is like everyone knows sage. It's great for clearing, and it's like pure white light. Something that's come into our realm of understanding. Brimstone is freaking awesome for it's like heavy duty sage, especially if there's like demonic stuff involved. Like
Brimstone is really So sage is sort of like it's cleansing, but brimstone is like going to what's the word? Sorry, I totally blanked on the word. Yes, it's heavy duty. I'm just repeating what you said. I'm sorry. I'll shut up.
Is that what you used on my my place, my old place?
No, I didn't use
No.
brimstone.
No, we used
Red brick dust. Yeah, that's good too.
camphor.
I got red brick
Campers,
dust. Yes.
yeah.
Oh yeah, red brick dust. I love that stuff. Oh, I gotta order some more. Shoot.
And also, just want to touch on something on sage real fast since we're on this. Something that I learned is that white sage specifically is an all clear, so it gets rid of all energy. So it's actually leaving you quite vulnerable if you don't follow up
Yeah, you
with
gotta
something
fill it back
afterwards.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's clearing everything out of your space, your home, your being, and so following up with things like Palo Santo or Yerba Santa, pretty much anything else. Rosemary.
Sweetgrass is great for it too, but
Lemongrass.
also
That's on your
setting up you need to set up protection as well.
Yeah.
So that's super important. Thank you for bringing that up. So once you sage and once you clear your home, set up protection, watchtowers. What's the word for it? I'm very tired. So we're all very
Guardians.
tired. Yeah. Not guardians.
Wait, what?
Guardians.
Wards.
Wards. Thank you. Setting up wards. Yes. My
Palo Santo?
Palo Santos. She
Is
has
that how you
that.
spell it?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's okay though.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
I think that was it.
Autocorrect.
Yeah. So
Oh.
we were talking about awakenings, and I am curious.
Oh yeah. So
what
I identify as alien more so than Fae, but I'm exploring that realm. But the alien awakening wasn't nearly as crazy or traumatic for me because growing up my childhood was traumatic. Like I actually didn't have friends. I didn't have people in my life. I had no one.
Well, you do now.
Yeah, you got that.
I had people chasing me, throwing severed cat limbs at me.
Jesus.
It was really bad.
It wasn't a very happy childhood. So I
Humans
lived,
are a-holes. Oh
yeah,
my god.
so I lived a lot
hate
of
humans
my
so
reality in
much.
my brain, and a lot of I dove into books, fantasy, and non sci-fi, fantasy,
Whale.
and a lot of keeping myself entertained and occupied, and just connecting with myself. So I realized that my inability to connect with humans was directly related to me not
Being
Being
human.
one.
Crazy. Yeah, relatable.
so when I had that realization, it wasn't earth shattering the way it could be for some people. It was just more understanding, and I guess like a feeling of, oh, that's what's going on. Like I understand myself more. I'm
Yeah.
home more. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, like we've known each other for a while, but one of the things that I love about you
Yeah, go ahead.
is the fact that like you the way that you think and the way that your brain works is so different from anybody I've ever met.
I feel I don't know. My thought process is I don't know. I say something and then Zoe will go, "You are the weirdest person I've ever met," and I'm like, "How?"
But that's a compliment. It's
Right.
not bad. Like,
It is a compliment.
I'm not saying that like you're bad.
I try so hard, and I don't know how.
We all try so hard to like appear somewhat human, and it's just real weird.
It's difficult. But you're a very unique, intelligent individual, and that's why I
And an
appreciate
Aquarius. I just feel like I don't know. It's just-
Aquarius are just probably all aliens
Yes.
to some degree. Yeah, I mean that is a big part of like why I fell in love with you, is because of how different you are than anybody I know, and like your brain works differently. And I also, knowing you, how I know you now, I can see where it was for you. The shift was very simple. It's like, because for you, it's like if once things click in your mind, it's like, oh, okay, you can just accept it and move on. I am, being a water fae, hyper emotional. So for me, I can understand all I want, but I'm like, no! Like,
water fae and a water sign.
And a water sign.
Scorpio.
Just a watery person. So yeah, we're polar opposites, but it works.
So what?
Oh my. Should we have
Anyway.
people ask questions, or should we talk more about
really?
Yeah. So
do we have questions for each other?
yeah, it is 8:30 right now. So you guys, we're halfway in the hour. Please, if you have any questions about Otherkin, whether you're experiencing something yourself and have questions about that, or you want to know specifically about like what it means to be Otherkin or how it is, please ask us, because we are here to have a conversation with you, and the show works when we're having dialogue.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd love to hear what other people are experiencing, because like obviously we have David's trying to bite. Because we have the fae, and we have the vampire, and we have the alien, but there's an infinite amount more. So if anybody else
Entirely.
is identifying as something different, I'd love to know.
I find it very fascinating that you water fae and you're a water sign, which is really cool. Like I'm an earth sign, but like I see myself very shadow fae and everything, because I am definitely full on into that realm, and it's very interesting in the contrast. I really want to get together and talk a little bit more about that.
Oh, for sure.
I think we should definitely.
Another Aquarius. Welcome.
Aquarius boys. Here we go. Let's see. Louis has you are an Aquarius man. Welcome in SoCal. Oh my gosh, we are from SoCal, Zep and I. But we're in Austin, Texas now. I would love to ask the question. I feel like I have some interesting things going on. Poltergeisty, demonic, but it's not a threat. But what do you feel they might be?
What does that mean?
Like a dark
Well,
could
it's-
be.
Okay.
What is
Zoe
what's
walks
the
into your-
demonic but not a threat part? part.
Well, if Zoe walks into your closet and sees something, she's gonna take care of it.
Well, if it's bothering you, yes. Okay, this is a great question. So here's the thing, and this is what I love about Fae in particular, is that there's a spectrum, right? So oftentimes when you think about Fae, you guys have heard me talk about this a million times, so apologies if you've heard me talk about this, but lots of times when you hear about Fae, you think about like the little Tinkerbell, the pixie, right? That's what people think of when they think of Fae. But those do exist. Those are pixies and sprites, and they do exist. But that is
They're also mean. They're like they swarm your way.
They can be. They can be. They're not always, but they can be. But the thing is the beautiful thing about the fairies, the fair folk, is that there is a whole spectrum from the very, very dark and dangerous to the very, very light and whimsical. And the unseelie, that is the Fae court of the fall and the winter. They tend to fall into the shadow realm, which is what we are part of. We're very comfortable in the dark. And it's not that they're bad, right? And so like, this is probably what you're feeling. It might be that you have a Fae creature you're dealing with, and they're not bad or evil, right? That's like a human concept and a human term. It's just that maybe I always use this analogy. It's like if you look at an alligator, you're not going to be like, that alligator is evil. You know, you're just like, it's an alligator. It's dangerous.
I'm not gonna mess with it.
You're not going to mess with it. You respect it. You give it space. And so oftentimes with these Fae beings that have that darker energy and that darker aspect, people see them as demonic, but they're not. They are simply fairies that are from the darker realm. So what you do with that is, you know, you respect them, you give them respect. Yep. And depending on who you are, you may or may not choose to work with them, but just understand that, you know, it's again, like I use the analogy of a wild animal because it's very true. They're not necessarily predictable, and you just have to know that there is an element of danger if you decide to embark on a relationship with them.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you have anything to add? Because I know you're part of that realm too.
Oh God. Cut me off guard right
Sorry.
there. Hey. I mean, you know, it's. I have words, but I can't say it at the moment.
That's
for some
okay.
reason.
That's okay.
It's being blocked.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no worries. No worries. So yeah, Louis, I think that if you, it always comes down to, for me, trust your intuition. So if your intuition and your feeling is that it's not bad, but you're aware that there's this like demonic element to it, then, you know, trust that. It might not be bad. It might not be evil, right? And these are like such human concepts, good and evil, and I really think that
actually, yeah, I think I do have a little bit add on to it now. If you really look at it, it's like, you know, if you have to remember how, and I always use this, it's like how Hollywood has made everything, and it's like, you know, they've taken actual lore history and they turned it into their own vision, and it's like, boom, well, that's how society has been built on because of how commercialing or Hollywood or TV shows have been made.
Well, they sensationalize it.
Exactly,
right.
But they're actually, you know, some things are not really evil. Some things are not really, you know, they're going to destroy you and such like that. And that's also has to do with a lot of different religious faiths and everything else like that, is how they perceive it. Well, this is depending on how you perceive it. If you feel this way and this is a dark entity, you know, being negative towards you, then do your research, ask questions, and, you know, figure out what to do to handle that sort of thing. I do like to forewarn everybody, is like when you go on the internet, be careful what you read about and how you're reading it. Make sure it's an authentic website, they've been around for some time, because people will put stuff on there and completely it's like the thing with tattoos. Oh, I got this symbol. It means peace and love, and it actually means something completely different. So please just do your research and such. So this entity may not even, if it feels dark and dangerous, deal with it. If it doesn't, kind of embrace it, do your research, and see if it actually is meaning a positive intent towards you. Because this could possibly be an awakening without realizing it, and you're just not familiar with it. So that's how you might be, because of how society has built it. Maybe it's not completely what it is at all. So you'd be amazed. That's how I found out. I was more shadow fae than anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe you're a shadow fae.
They're coming to tell you that you're shadow fae.
Desiree
Thank you,
says, I
Dustin.
do wish of times that I had more of a community where I am. I've always felt drawn to fire. I'm a fire sign. My friends even called me Phoenix growing up.
Yeah.
And explain to someone how you can feel the energy of life, death, and reality. Getting a crazy face is disheartening. Oh, girl, I understand. Especially growing up in a conservative household. So understandable.
Ooh.
Okay, who here has grown up in a conservative household?
I had like a halfway.
Yeah, that's
Halfway
hard.
down,
That's hard. And sometimes I feel like, because it feels like there is a lot of Otherkin have to deal with that conservative. And I think that there's something to that, because it's sort of like
Sucks.
part of the journey is breaking through those barriers to really get to the truth of who you are. It's like, I wish I could say that it's an easy journey where it's like you figure out what you are and then and you just live it and you are living your truth. But the reality is like there's lots of barriers. And I am 39 and I just found these people within the last 3 years. Prior to that, well, I had you.
Yeah,
So
we've
we had
known
each
each other
other.
since kindergarten. We
Yeah.
were part of the same Catholic academy.
We were.
Yeah.
So I mean, I've had you, and that's been wonderful.
Yeah.
And I am very lucky. But I understand what you're feeling, and all I can say to you, Desiree, is just keep going. Because as long as you are really strong and true to who you are, your people are going to find you. And it's more about like you talked about the beacon. Yeah, in the last one. Do you want to talk about that again?
So the beacon is essentially, I utilized it in the vampire community a lot, but I'm sure it can be utilized in any spiritual community. It essentially is an energy signature that one gives off to other people that are like them or have the energy signature. So like as a vampire, I can usually tell when someone else is a vampire. And I kind of felt the same thing with being Fae. Like as Fae, I can usually tell, like if I meet someone, I'm like, oh, that is not human. Oh God.
I feel like that happened when you first met
That
me.
happened when I met you, but I didn't know a whole lot about Fae back then. So I was
What
just
are
like,
you?
I was just like, what is that? That's not a person.
Daily
Wow.
literally chased me.
Well, that's because, you know.
Yeah.
What are you?
Well, that's not why I chased him. But I digress.
You were hungry.
I've been feeding this woman for 8
She
years
was
now.
thirsty.
I'm turning his resume.
Good times, good times. Okay, so I've had other people, like other vampires, that will be like, yeah, Jeffrey just like looks delicious. And they're not even like, they're not gay, they're like straight men, and they're like, yeah, no, his energy, I just want, yeah, it's a thing.
I travel with wards, I've traveled with shields up, and I just have a good time and be mischievous and, you know.
Try not to get eaten by vampires.
Yep. Only
Like True Blood
two.
up in this bitch.
There's only 2 people I let feed off of my energy, and that's it. So.
I have a similar thing, but it's more people telling me their deepest, darkest secrets within 10 minutes of meeting me.
Well,
You have that.
yeah, you're very comforting.
Yeah.
I do remember you telling me about that in Winter Solstice. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yes.
It's very interesting how
Should
that
just
happens.
scroll and see if there's more.
Yeah.
comments.
Yeah. Okay.
New comments.
Darkness
Darkness
is
is
beautiful.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Embrace it if you can.
I've been on my magical path for a couple of years now, but more resources would be fantastic.
Desiree.
Desiree,
What's happening with her?
she's
She's a
feeling
fire
like-
sign.
She's
Phoenix.
fire sign. Okay.
So, Desiree, I'm just gonna put this out there. We actually just wrapped up a fairy course. I have a website called houseofthewildly.com, and we run courses. And within those courses, we just did a Fae one, and we have like private communities within those. So that I'm just gonna toot that horn and
Well,
say
there's
like there's
also-
a resource.
You have your like Witchcraft 101 course, and then
Yeah.
there's also the Shadow Work course. So like
Right.
all that stuff can really help with awakenings and helping you find your path. And I mean, the Shadow Work course almost ripped me in half.
Yeah, the
The
shadow
shadow
work
work
is
is
intense. It's a very intense one.
I will
If you're
def-
interested in any of
That
those,
happens
you
in
should
the
probably
fall.
hit up Zoe because she should
Yeah.
figure out where you are in your path, and then maybe she could recommend the best one for you. Yeah, some of them are really insane.
Highly
Yeah,
recommended, especially if you're an experienced person in any kind of craft you're doing. It's highly recommended because it's always good to recap if needed too. So I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Out of curiosity, Desiree, where are you? I think you mentioned that you're like in kind of a rural area or you said conservative. But yeah, what city are you in, if you don't mind sharing? Oh, look, it's Rachel. Hi, Rachel.
Hello,
Hi.
Here's a question.
Yes.
Right there.
Hi, Rachel.
Okay. Hold on. Let me see if there's any. Yeah, she had a question too.
Yeah.
Candy had a question. Is it common to experience a lot of heavy dream work during awakenings with similar beings?
yeah.
Yeah.
Having
Yeah.
100%. Oh yeah. They
Yes.
come for you. They like. Sorry, my Fey awakening was yeah.
Oh man.
They just come right on me like hi, and you're like whoop.
My awakening was more in person, in the woods, and right in the middle of summer festival. That was a whoa. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Kate wants to know, do your parents know what you identify as?
Yep.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, so
No.
everyone's different.
Kinda, I don't
obviously.
know. They don't get it.
Daly's parents have become pretty great, and they know everything, and
Yeah.
they've
But
mellowed
they didn't
out.
start that
They're-
way.
They didn't start out.
I
great.
was the
I mean, they
child.
were always great. They were just not understanding.
Well, I was a child that was raised to tell my parents everything, and so I did. And when I awakened as a vampire at 15, at the time my mom was very religious and very conservative. But I straight up told her, I was like, hey, I'm a vampire. I have to feed from human energy and blood, and the sun has become too heavy of a source of energy. I can no longer be out in it for long periods of time. And she lost her mind, lost it. I was a devil worshiper, and I was gonna be sent back to private school, and she stole all my black clothes. And it took a long time for her to really become comfortable with the idea. And it just became like, for years, I think it helped that as a teenager, like I made it through high school and college without ever doing any type of drugs or drinking alcohol. And so I think that was her biggest concern, is that I was gonna go off and do all this stuff, and I didn't. I just
Does that make your mom the Coven Mama?
probably now.
Is that
She
our
was
Coven Mama?
like she's the mom that like takes in other people.
Yeah, your mom's
Yeah.
great.
Now
Yeah,
she's super
absolutely.
supportive. She was very happy when I had my Fey awakening, and she was very happy when I became a witch, because I was working with nature a lot more, and I was able to go into the sun for longer periods than before I had my Fey awakening. And once I was able to find that balance, like she was like, "Oh, I much prefer you being a witch to being a vampire." But yeah, she became very supportive, and honestly,
I love your mom
honestly,
so
I'm
much.
pretty sure both of my parents, if not one of them, is inhuman.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure my dad's a vamp fae.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
oh, yeah.
He's-
Oh my god, I can totally yes.
Yeah.
100%. My dad is. So I had this fear for the longest time when I did awaken as fae,
Alright.
and I was a vampire. I had only ever known vamp faes that went crazy,
Mhm.
because when you're a vampire, you have to take in life. You have to eat it. You have to consume it. You're essentially a black void of emptiness, and you have to suck in and take in all this. Sorry, I'm getting very keyed up right now because that's what it feels like. Like I'm trying to explain what it feels like to need to feed, and you're just hungry and thirsty all the time, and you just want to just devour people around you. And then when you become Fae, it's life, and especially Seelie. I awakened as Seelie Fae, and I was like, someone's playing a joke. There's a joke out there in the universe somewhere. Like I could see being a vampire and then becoming unseelie, because there's vampires like I think it's called like the Banshee. That's like eventually essentially a vampire fairy. But I didn't awaken as unseelie. I awakened as Seelie, and I wanted to be in nature and then talk to the flowers and springtime and lovely birds and shit, and I loved that shit. And so then I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna go crazy, because I have this one side of me that has to eat everything. And I have this other side of me that wants to heal and grow and watch things grow and be one with life. And it took a very long time for me to balance that out. And I've met many vamp fays that didn't balance it out and lost their minds. And it's hard. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
And my dad is very much like that. Like when you're talking to him, you can feel him. Like if you don't put up like wards and guards, like he will just suck the energy right out of you. But at the same time, he can see the future, and animals love him. He can communicate with animals, and when he's in nature, like he do all these things, and he's way stronger than he should be for his age.
Yes.
He's still running Ironman triathlons and stuff. So, and then my mom is she considers herself a white witch, is what she says.
She's so sweet.
And she loves nature, and she loves animals, and she's very like communes with nature. So I don't know. I'm probably both because of my parents.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's probably I feel like it can be genetic. So
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
I like the
I never really
scientific
had
term for that. That's cool.
much of a feeling of a support for my family, for my parents, whether it was what I wanted to pursue for my personal interests or passions or hobbies, or what I wanted to pursue educational wise, or what I wanted to pursue faith wise. Like I grew up it was a very conservative world, a very conservative family. They still are. And I think I came out as a witch in like, I don't know, 10th grade.
In high school, yeah.
10th grade or something like that. And they kind of flipped their shit. I actually was wearing a lot of
You were
nutty
wearing
stuff.
this.
Yeah.
I remember in high school you were wearing
Yeah.
this. Oh my God.
And then
Not
I would
this
be
one,
sitting.
but that.
No, not this one. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But
I mean, who
I'd be sitting with my netted shirt, talking to like priests that they would bring into the house because they thought I was being possessed or something, and they would send me like on Sundays. I would go to church with my mom, and then I'd go in the back and talk to the priest, and we'd talk about philosophy,
oh
and
god.
they try to reconvert me back to being
Oh man,
Catholic.
did they
Yeah.
just give up at the end? Because I feel like
They did. I mean, there wasn't. Obviously, they were like, well, there's nothing they could do. We'd have
I can
hour-long
just see you
conversations.
like I can see you like just taking what they were saying and just pulling it
Yeah,
apart and
yeah.
Oh yeah.
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 It's hot.
Yeah.
Remember that.
Insanely
Remember
smart.
that.
That is
Pull it apart.
fascinating.
Right. So
Jeffrey's-
they knew I was a witch. They knew it was something. I mean, I don't think I never brought up that I was an alien. But at that point, when I was becoming aware of what I was, I didn't really feel the need to bring that on top of that. Yeah. So
I love it.
I'm
Now,
an alien.
So I guess the thing is, it's up to you. You get to pick and choose what you reveal to you, no matter what it is. If you're an alien, if you're fae, if you're gay, if you're trans or whatever, it's like
You're a gay
you
face.
have
A gay
control
face.
of what you
Hey.
want to reveal to your blood relatives.
Yeah,
right.
It's your right, and
Yeah.
it's within your control. So no, my family doesn't know that.
I'm hungry.
Right.
Oh yeah, I am too.
No.
So we've got 6 minutes. I'll just quickly say that
Got myself
pretty much the same boat as Zev. I don't have a family support system that would support that. And
you do now.
Well, yeah, because you guys are my family, of course. I love you guys
We're
so
gonna get
much.
married.
We are gonna get married. So I just choose not to go down that path because it's more trouble than it's worth.
Mhm.
How about you, Kara? More trouble than it's worth.
Yeah. No, if you watched the first Otherkin special, I mentioned that I am a pastor's child. So I grew up in the church until I was 17, and it literally only took me 1 year to dismantle everything that I had been taught, because innately I'd always felt that something was wrong. Like I had always asked questions about like why I was being taught what I was taught, like why being gay is bad. We don't know. Just have faith.
God works in mysterious ways. It's fine.
Is that why?
It's so fascinating to still like listen to your guys' stories because I didn't grow up religious at all.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like I had religious friends and I'm just like
Yeah.
And
my
your
mom-
mom is witchy.
Yeah.
Now she is, but
Yeah.
she finally understood
Isn't
and
that
asked
funny?
questions.
My mom is now too.
Yeah,
That's
like
awesome.
my mom was all against that stuff. We didn't go to church or anything, but about me being gay was a little bit hard, but later on in life, she's really embraced it and really understood it. And she asked questions, and now she's super witchy. She's into the chakras, the essential oils, and yeah, it's kind of neat. But it's very fascinating to hear you guys' stories. And it's like, I just want everyone to understand that everyone comes from a different background, and just when you get older, you really realize it. Just embrace yourself, who you truly are. And other people will try to convert you to something different or their belief because of how they've been brought up. Just embrace your indigo self and move forward, and you'll be.
Oh, there's your boyfriend.
Meow.
And there's my boyfriend, who's a cat. But
Right there, just click
oh
it.
god.
There he is. Hi, Zach.
Hi, baby. But yes, that's a cat.
He's a demon.
He's
Me
a
too.
demon cat. He really is. But no, really, just embrace who you truly are and just move forward, and you'll eventually, no matter what age you're at or how long it takes, you will find your own people. And it took me a while, and
Yeah.
I've sincerely, probably within the last couple of years, I finally found my crew and my family, my true family. So. Family doesn't have to be blood.
We're gonna need a part 3 of this. Like, we need to just start doing a monthly show.
I know what
it
is
is.
this. We're back to Shadowcast.
Oh God. We have a few more minutes.
So Candy, you said I can relate to that. Actually, with the religious stuff, my family did insist I go to church, even though they didn't. Wanted to get a break from me, but I was baptized 3 times to release the evil. Oh my God, girls!
Oh.
I was as an infant, I was held up and declared Christian.
Wow.
That worked out
Oh.
well. That really stuck.
I'm like visualizing like Lion King.
It was.
Cheers,
No,
Christian!
seriously, was that? That's what they did. That's what they did.
Wow.
It was the circle of life.
Yeah. No.
And
Wow.
then we just never
5
went to-
cards.
never went to church.
5 cards that encompass our energies. Great show. Thank
Oh,
you.
wow.
Yeah.
Fun.
I'm actually very curious what those cards are, but
Yeah.
thank you
Please
for doing
message
that.
Zoe on that. I would love to know what those are too.
Yes. So you guys, we've only got 2 minutes left, but
Oh, should we pull a card for?
I'm gonna have to run up and grab it.
Okay.
I just want to give a big shout out to Psychicfixes
Thank you.
for hosting us. If you guys haven't already, please like and subscribe to the Psychicfixes channel. Check out their other shows that they have. They do have other shows. They have psychic mediums that, and they have people that give readings. They have a woman that does dream work. I think they have a woman that does sound healing. So there's all different types of people that are in the spiritual realm doing work through Psychicfixes. This is Let's Get Witchy, and we cover all things witchy and weird. I am Zoe Sol. Thank you to my amazing cast of characters and Otherkin. You guys, I love you. This really is my family. And just to let you guys know, growing up, I didn't get close to people. Like, I would have friends, but then they just seemed to kind of disappear. And then I met Zeph after college, and we became really close. And then eventually got
reconnected
married.
with Zeph after college.
Right,
in
we reconnected.
kindergarten.
We did, but we didn't really like know each
Yeah,
other.
yeah.
We just knew of each other. But you know, it wasn't until I moved out to Austin, and like I said, in the last 3 years, that I really found my people. And there have been many times where, I'm gonna be honest, where it's like I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like,
Not me. I feel
okay,
like
so
that.
like this
I have
isn't real,
trauma.
right? Like this isn't it. And
Girl, we ain't going anywhere anytime. No.
I
We
think
staying
it's-
together for a long
I'm
time.
good with that. I'm the one that's like, everyone secretly hates me and it's gonna go away. Because
It's-
that's what they do.
No.
yeah, no, I mean, but the thing is like I want you guys to know that there is somebody out there for you, no
There
matter
is.
how weird
Like that
you
beacon.
feel.
Mm.
Like that beacon, and know that there are people out there that are going to connect with you, but that can only happen when you have the courage to be yourself fully and not to hide who you are anymore. because I had to hit a point where I was like, I'm just going to be myself and stop hiding. And that was really the point where I was able to draw these beautiful people into my life.
Best decision I've ever made. That's for damn sure.
Fall in love with yourself.
Fall in love with
Yes.
yourself and be yourself. And the right people are going to come. So
Also ask. Like, don't be afraid to literally, like, it doesn't matter who you're talking to, just be like, hey, I'm ready. I'm ready for these people to come into my life.
Speak
it doesn't
it
have
to
to be a
speak it to the
ritual.
universe.
Yeah, just ask for it.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
The universe
Very
is there
simple.
to lift you up, provide for you, give you what you're asking for.
Mm-hmm. That's
Yeah.
right.
Thanks for everyone for tuning in. We love
Yeah,
you
we
guys.
love you. Until next week. Mwah. Have a beautiful night. We love you.
Bye.
Bye.